Good morning. Good to be here. Good to see you here. Today's lesson is about that last proverb that we mentioned, differing or unequal weights. Have you ever been to the fast food restaurant and you see this burger on the menu and it's perfect? It has this perfectly brown golden bun and the patties are thick. The cheese is like melted perfectly on the corners. And then you have the fries, and it's like sitting straight up, and all the fries are in there like a little army. It's just like a perfect image. And you say, I want that. And you order that burger and that meal. And what does it look like when it comes out? Yeah, not like the picture. Like maybe someone sat on it, or it's kind of toppled over. The cheese is still cold. The patties are really small. Half the fries are like still in the bag. It's all over the place. What do you feel like when you get something like that? When the burger you ordered isn't what you got? It doesn't feel good. Does it feel like you kind of got cheated? Like someone lied to you maybe? Because you signed up for getting this nice burger and you got the Sadhan burger. It doesn't feel good. We don't like that. There is a way in the Old Testament, ancient times, that ancient shopkeepers would kind of do this, where they would offer and act like they're giving you a lot, but actually give you little. And they would do that with differing weights, with unequal weights, and also use false scales and balances. This term, unequal weights, appears a lot in God's laws and appears in the Proverbs like we just read. The book of Proverbs is great. It's all this wisdom, kind of grab-and-go advice. A soft answer turns away wrath. Pride comes before destruction. Proverbs are great. And then you get Proverbs, kind of like the one we read, that look like this. A just balance and scales are the Lord's. All the weights in the bag are his work. Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Proverbs 20:10, unequal weights and unequal measures, both alike, are an abomination to the Lord. Proverbs 20:23, unequal weights are an abomination to the Lord, and false scales are not good. Often when I'm reading through the Proverbs, I see really good practical things that I can use. And then you come to these and you're kind of like, what do I do with this? I don't use scales and weights every day. What could this mean for us? That's what I want to talk about today. This is a serious matter, that false weights, unequal weights, are an abomination to the Lord. An abomination is something that you hate, that causes you disgust. Proverbs 6 says that a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, those are abominations to the Lord. Would we think that unequal weights, that this false scale is up there with hands that shed innocent blood? That's what God communicated. Why is this such an important concept back then? And then we're going to talk about how could we use it today. Let's start with what were these weights? What are these balances? What are we talking about here? Scales and balances are interchangeable, and it would refer to something like this. We've all seen this, right, at the courthouse or dollar bills and stuff. It's a scale. You put something on one end, put something on the other. You can see what weighs more and things like that. This was a central part to almost every purchase that would have been made, to payment and everything back in ancient times. Back then, they didn't have money, or I guess they didn't have paper money like we have today, but they had silver and gold, and they would measure value in weight. And the term for measurement they would use was shekels. You've heard that, right? Shekels of silver. So when you would go to the store, essentially, they would use this for two things. One, to make sure that you're buying the right amount of what you need. Kind of like today when you go to Kroger in the produce section, you can get so many pounds of mushrooms or lettuce or whatever it is. Kind of the same thing. You would use it to make sure you're getting enough of what you're buying. And the second way they would use it is make sure that you're paying enough. So you would pay in shekels, in this weight of silver. So you would put your shekels on the scale and balance it out. And that's where we come to this idea of weights. How do we know how much a shekel weighs? You put your produce on one side. How do you know it weighs a shekel? Well, that's where we would use these things called weights. They're little rocks, small little carved stones, and they would have been labeled for how much they weighed. So you might have one that's a full shekel, might have a half shekel, a quarter shekel. These are what they would have looked like. How would these work? You would go to the store and say you want to buy 1/2 shekel of flour to make a loaf of bread. So the store owner would take one of these weights, this half shekel, and put it on one side of the scale. Then he would pour flour out on the other side until it evened out, showing that you're buying 1/2 shekel of flour. This is a way to standardize the measurement so that you know you are getting what you paid for. Then you'd bag up the flour, and the store owner might say, okay, that cost 1/4 shekel. And he would get his 1/4 shekel stone, put on his side of the scale, and then you would put silver on that scale until it evened out. Pretty cool, right? That's how they would do all these purchases, a huge part of civilization back then. Every time you bought something, it was likely done on one of these, using these scales, using these balances. So what would it mean then to have unequal weights? Differing weights, your version might say. Here's what they would do. A store owner would say, hey, here's 1 shekel, and put it on the scale. But that shekel might only weigh, that rock might only weigh a 1/2 shekel. Essentially, he would say, hey, I'm going to give you a full shekel of flour. See, here's the rock. Put it on the side of the scale, but it only weighs a 1/2 shekel. He's lying about how much it weighs. Then you would go home with less. Think about that you're signing up, hey, I want to buy a shekel of flour, and then you get less. Think of the strain this could put on your family over time. If you're constantly overpaying, because you'd be paying for the full shekel, but only getting half. Imagine like a single mother, and she needs a shekel of flour to make a loaf of bread for her 3 or 4 kids. And she thinks, I'm buying a full shekel of flour. And she gets home and she can't even make the loaf because she only got a 1/2 shekel. Think about this. Unequal weights, lying about how much we are giving to others back then, this was an abomination to the Lord. Because you're lying to someone, you're cheating them, and you're taking advantage of weak people, taking advantage of the poor. This is an abomination to the Lord. That's what the Proverbs are talking about. That's what a lot of the laws are talking about when they mention unequal weights or false scales. So we kind of see the picture. What would this look like in our lives today? We don't necessarily use these scales and these weights. What are some ways that unequal weights could come up in our life? We use unequal weights when we look like we give more than what we actually give. In the ancient world, unequal weights, they made you look really honest. You looked like you were giving the right amount, but actually you were giving less. Today, if we look like we're doing a lot, or we look like we're being really kind to others, or we look like we're really loving, but we're actually not, it's not an equal weight. Because what we say we're doing and what we're doing does not match up. Have you seen someone like this who's always talking about how much they do or how much they will do, but they really don't do a lot? I brought this up in the back classroom this morning, but I worked at Publix in high school. And I had this one manager type person, and she was really busy. Like she was always walking around really fast and always like rearranging things and always telling us what to do and boom, 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 boom. And she looked like she was doing a lot. One time I kind of sat back and watched her and I realized she was kind of just walking in circles. Like she really wasn't doing a lot. But what was the deception? She looked like she was doing a lot. And actually, or at least in my high school wisdom, she didn't look like she really was. What are some ways this can play out in our life? What are some ways that we can look like we're doing a lot? We can offer a certain amount to people, but we're actually holding some back. How about unkept promises? Have you ever had someone plan to come over to your house and maybe help you with something or come over and share a meal, and then last second they back out like something else happened? We call this, or at least most of the kids do, flaking, where it's like you are committed to it and then you back out. This could be an example of this, where you say, yeah, I'll be over, I'll come help you, and then you don't. If we have unkept promises, we're not having equal weights. We're saying we're going to do more than what we do. How about these? We talked about this a few weeks ago in our compassion class, but what about saying, hey, call me anytime? Or let me know if you need anything. What does that look like? Looks like we're putting a lot of weight on the scale. Call me if you need anything. Let me know if you need anything. Call me anytime. It looks like we're putting a lot of weight on the scale for someone else. But are we actually prepared to give that person anything? Or to actually be there for them anytime? We need to make sure that what we say we're going to do for people matches what we're actually willing to do. Look at this verse in James. James is talking about faith and works, but he brings up this really helpful illustration that I think applies here for us. James chapter 2, verses 15 through 16. James says, if a brother or sister is without clothing and in need of daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warm and be filled, and yet you don't give them what's necessary for their body, what use is that? Imagine this scene with a mother and her child, and they're outside standing somewhere, and the kid says, hey, Mom, I'm cold. And the mom looks at the kid and says, well, be warm. Then the kid says, Mom, I'm hungry. And the mom says, well, be filled. Did that mom help that kid at all? No, but looks like she's being really kind. She's saying, go in peace, be warm, be filled, but not doing anything about it. That's a false weight. It's an unequal weight when our words outweigh our actions. Let's check ourselves and let's make sure that what we say, that we're saying kind things, that we're saying meaningful words to each other, but that we actually back it up with our actions. It's no good if we're just saying go in peace to everyone without seeing and meeting other people's needs. When we say, I'll pray for you, go and actually pray for them. And when we say, I'm here for you, be ready to be there for that person, even if it's awkward or uncomfortable. We need to make sure that what we look like we're doing for others matches what we actually do. Do we do a good job at that here at West End? Do we have deep relationships where we sacrifice things for each other, where we support each other? Or do we just have that appearance? Why is this so important? This is so important because true love is action-oriented. Look at 1 John 3:18. The audience of 1 John would have just endured or had false teachers in their midst. False teachers would have looked like they were giving a lot. They looked like they're giving their time and their love, but really they were taking advantage of the people. This group of people needed to see what real love was and share it with each other. 1 John 3:18 says this, little children, let us not love with word or with tongue, but in deed and truth. In deed and truth. Do we practice real love? Love that goes beyond what we say to each other. Earlier in this section of 1 John, it says that by this we know love. How do we know love? That Christ laid down his life for us. John 3:16 not 1 John, but the Gospel of John 3:16, does it say God so loved the world that he said he was going to give his only son? No, what does it say? God so loved the world that he gave his only son. True love leads to action, not just words. That is the true love of Christ that we need to have for each other. Having fair weights, giving people what we actually offer, is about following through with our words, saying things and meaning it, and showing that we mean it. If we have unequal weights with others in our relationships, with our family, with people at church, often relationship issues that we have can bleed into the most important relationship, our relationship with God. What are some ways that we could have unequal weights with God? What are some ways that we could look like we're doing a lot for God, but we really aren't? This would show itself if we're halfway committed. Maybe you look like you read your Bible a lot. You maybe set aside a time every morning. Maybe you always post it on your Instagram, or you're always reposting verses, which are good things to do. But if we look like we're doing a lot for God, but we're actually not, he's going to see right through that. You can read the Bible every day, but if it never really changes you, then what's the point? Maybe coming here for worship, where we come here, we dress up nice, we sing these songs, we have a smile on our face, and it looks like, wow, we're sacrificing a lot. We didn't sleep in, we woke up, we came here, we're doing a lot for God. But what if we come here and we kind of just check out during the sermon, or we're not really thinking about what we're singing or what we're praying about? We can look like we are really good Christians and really good people. That's easy to do. But are we coming here to truly worship God? In our life, are we truly committing ourselves to the Lord, or just trying to look like we are? Look at this verse in Psalm 51. David writes this right after he commits adultery with Bathsheba and then kills her husband. And this is a psalm, a prayer of repentance. He's saying, create in me a clean heart, renew a spirit within me, restore unto me the joy of your salvation. Look what he says in verse 16 and 17. He's talking to God in this prayer. He says, for you, O Lord, you don't delight in sacrifice, otherwise I would give it. You're not pleased with burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise. David is saying, God, if you wanted a sacrifice, I would do it. I will make the burnt offering. But David realizes that if he is in sin, God does not care about the sacrifices that he gives, what he looks like he's doing, if his heart is in sin. Think about it like this. Imagine a married couple. And every single day, the husband cheats on the wife. But also every single day, the husband brings home flowers for his wife. Do you think the wife would be satisfied with that sacrifice the husband took to go out of his way to spend money on those flowers? Would that sacrifice be pleasing to the wife? No, because he's not obedient. He's betraying her every single day, and he's not sorry about it. We can make great sacrifices for the Lord, of our time, denying jobs, whatever it is, giving things to the poor, whatever. We can make these great sacrifices to God, but that's not what God truly cares about. What God really wants you to sacrifice is your heart. He wants to know that you really love him, that you're putting sin out of your life, that you depend on him. He wants a broken and contrite heart, a heart that knows it's in sin, but knows God can cleanse your heart. Doesn't matter how great of Christians we look, or how often we can come to church, our sacrifices don't matter if we're living in sin. The true sacrifice is a broken and contrite heart. What God really wants is your heart. Why is this so important? Why is this concept so important that it's what's on the inside that matters? It's our heart, our attitude. That's what God really wants. Why is that so important? Look at Proverbs 21:2. Proverbs 21:2 says this: "Every way of a man is right in his own eyes." All your sacrifices, everything you look like you're doing, it looks right. To your eyes, to everyone else's eyes, you can look like you're a great Christian. You're really loving God. Look at the second half. But the Lord weighs the heart. You're not going to impress God with all your sacrifices when your heart's not in it. You can trick people into looking like you're a great person, like you're a great Christian, like you love God. You can look like you are really, really good at this whole Christianity thing, but your heart not be in it. You can trick people, but you cannot trick God. He sees past what we appear to give on the scale, and he knows the true weight of what we give to others and to him. And God will judge what we truly give to him and others. If we're making all these big promises and big commitments to each other, saying, hey, I'll give you this much, but it actually weighs less than that. We say we'll give this much time, this much energy, but we give a lot less. Or we look at God and say, I'll give you this much of my time, this much of my beliefs, of my attitude, but we give God a lot less. God knows what you're really giving him and others, and you will be judged for that. So stop playing games with each other. Stop playing this game with God. If we are lying about what we are giving, it's an abomination. We can have a great presentation, but our heart is an abomination. This proverb, this concept, isn't meant to scare us. We're scared to do anything because we know that God can see everything we do and everything we're thinking. It's not meant to cripple us, but it's also not meant to crush us, to make us think that we're never doing enough. God has these proverbs to reveal these weaknesses in us so that we will have that right sacrifice, a broken heart, and come to Jesus and know we can say to the Lord, I want to give you my whole heart. I know that I've focused so much on looking like I'm committed to you. Lord, help me to commit to you with my whole heart. Like in Psalm 51, create in me, Lord, create in me a pure heart. Come to Jesus, come to him with a true broken heart, and he will heal it. Only Jesus truly can. He will heal your heart and he will mold your life into one that is genuinely devoted to him. If you have any needs at this time, if you want to start this walk with Christ, or if you've been focusing more on what you look like than what you actually are, well, you can come forward now. We can pray for you. We can baptize you. We can talk to you. Whatever it is, you can come forward now. We stand up while we sing this song.